Thank you for coming. This is our new, today we're introducing a new Coriolis mass flow meter. It's a Rotamass TI. Our previous model was the Rotamass 3 series. The Rotamass 3 was released maybe 10 years ago. And it's from our factory at Rota, Germany, which is a Yokogawa subsidy. We'll have inventory here, support here, and service here as well for this product. I have the presentation on the screen as well if it makes it easier while I talk for you, but it's up to you. Coriolis mass flow is for measuring mass and volume, density and concentration measurements. That's typically what it's been used for, and it's used in oil and gas, chemical, food and beverage, refining, any application you can really use. Why they use Coriolis? Everybody's going to more mass, and mass is a constant, whereas the volume is a variant. So currently we've seen the market, the Coriolis is probably the biggest portion of flow meters globally in terms of dollar value is by Coriolis. It's currently, I think it's 34%, 36%. In 2018, it's going to be 38% of the market in terms of volume. So there's a big push for the Coriolis. Costs have significantly reduced from when they came out 20 years ago. So before where you would use a mag meter instead of a Coriolis, now it's somewhat feasible to use a Coriolis. And when you consider the additional benefits of the Coriolis, in terms of diagnostics and insight into your process, it becomes a lot better cost of ownership, total cost of ownership to the end user. So why do we need to develop a new Coriolis? Well, we wanted to reduce energy consumption. The biggest issue you have is pressure drop. A Coriolis is typically two tubes coming in, two bent tubes, and they flow through. But when you have that flow split, you get a pressure drop, and you need more energy, more pump power to pump that through. We also wanted to increase the accuracy at the low flow range. So we need to get that. We need to get the better stability, so we have more of a flat specification. Typical specification is not so linear on a Coriolis. We also enhanced it for dual phase. So now a big issue is entrained gas. So we introduced a new excitation functionality in this unit, where it automatically adjusts the power drive based on how much entrained gas you have in your system. Where this comes into benefit as well is, for example, in the Rotamass 3 we had it, and we're enhancing it in the new series, is we have what we call the net oil and gas void fraction measurement. We just got our patent approved for that, where we can now measure how much water is in your oil and how much gas is in your oil. Now, most people can do this, but they do it separately. You either set it up for oil or for gas. We can set it up so once the oil changes to gas, it'll automatically switch over and give you the gas void fraction. Also, we fixed up the pickups. There are pickups that are in here that measure the tube and how far they move. We've enhanced that to give you that better zero stability. So now we have a true flat specification to the very low end of the unit. So before, like I said, it would deteriorate. Now it's a true flat specification in our unit. And there's a lot more that went into fixing the physical of the unit. But we went one step further. The measurements are a measurement, and everybody can get an accuracy. For now, for example, it's 0.075% accuracy. What makes us different? How do we differentiate this? Well, when you look at the life cycle, you've got the engineering and purchasing. They need to purchase a unit. They know they're ordering the correct unit, sizing the correct unit. If they have the installation configuration, does the service tech know that he's setting it up correctly? You go through to the operations and observations. Is it the unit still running efficiently? And as we go through this, the maintenance and calibration, does it need to be maintained? Does it need to be calibrated? Service and repairs, when do I send it back? And modifications, what if it doesn't do what I need? Do I have to upgrade? How much is it going to take? So we took this into consideration. So instead of just focusing on the measurement, we focus on the life cycle for the customer. So now what we have is, we released is what we call the Rotamass TI, actually stands for Total Insight. So we have the total insight of the product ranging from advanced flexibility, simplified selection, data mobility, the expert guide, maintenance manager, and the process guide. So what does that mean for the end user? So when we talk about simplified selection, now we have a 6 range. Before we had one set of unit, one body, one style to choose from. Now we have a family of 6 units. We have a Nano, which is the Rotamass Nano, which is for the small flow rates, very small flow rates. We have the Giga, which is for the large. Sorry?
What industries?
The small nano is typically chemical injection. Chemical injection dosing is used with the smaller. We use a lot in pharmaceutical, and very expensive chemical dosing is where that's typically used. The Rotamass Giga is the large sizes, up to 600 ton an hour for your loading, oil and gas, your pipeline transmissions, and so forth. We also have the Hygienic series, which is dedicated to food and beverage, pharmaceutical, and biomedical requirements. We also have the
Do they have like clean and
place capability?
Sorry?
Do they have clean in place capability?
Yes, absolutely. All our tubes are self-draining. So the way they're installed from our very original concept was everything is self-draining and there are no voids in there, so they can absolutely clean in place. We also have the intense, which is for high pressure, and that also includes now we have the capability to have a pressure input. Now, even though you have a mass flow without any compensation required, when you have high pressure, that pressure can affect your tubes. They expand. When they expand, the flexibility of the tubes changes and your measurement changes. So now we have a pressure compensation, external pressure compensation, to be able to input to actually measure the pressure of the tube, so we can compensate for that in there when taking the measurement to get a better measurement accuracy. And then we go down to the two main focuses. The biggest focuses are what we call the prime and the supreme. The prime is this version here. Absolutely, this is your more cost-effective solution. It has less pressure drop, and it has a larger flow range. And your supreme is similar to our Rotamass 3 body with our proven what we call box-in-box design, but we've actually enhanced the coil pickups inside to make it of a better flat spec.
So why is it like, I noticed the design's covered or whatever.
Well, this one here encompasses what we call a box-in-box. So what that does is it isolates your measuring tubes from external forces. So if you have vibration in your line or a very difficult application, you're not going to get that coming through the tubes, whereas this unit does not. So for most applications, that box-in-box might not be required. So they can go for the simplified design. But for those difficult designs, or the designs that, for example, if you have entrained gases, this is the design you probably want to go with.
So I was thinking, custody transfer, finished product, because it doesn't have this stuff. In process, where all kind of stuff could be going
Absolutely.
on. Yeah.
So that's a higher end solution. And this is the problem we had in the past. We had the one line. Now we have the multiple lines to select the multiple field. So if you can see here, you have the different levels there. So you got the Rotamass Nano for the low flows, up to the Rotamass Giga for the large flow. So we have now 6 series of flow tubes. To go with that now, we actually have 2 sensors. We have the Essential, which is your basic cost-effective solution for general purpose applications. And then we have the Ultimate, which adds in extra functionality. So the Ultimate will have has built-in verification, which we'll go through in a moment as well. It has built-in verification. It has multiple I/O combinations you can select from. It has the lockout functionality, concentration measurement, the net oil. It has a function which we'll discuss in a moment, called features on demand, and we'll go into that in a moment. So now you have that option of selecting, and they both have different accuracy ranges for both the mass and the density. Then we move on to the expert guide. So now we also have a simplified, easy startup. A Coriolis, in terms of a flow meter, is so much more complex than a mag or a vortex. A mag meter, you set up your span and you're done. That's it. With a Coriolis, you've got to set up a lot more variables because you have so many more variables in there. Well, we have an easy setup guide now. When you go through it, it walks you step by step how to set up your process.
It's all software, right?
Sorry?
Desktop software.
Oh, you can do it through the display. And yeah, and we can do that through our FieldMate software as well. We also have an expert guide, for example, through this display. Yes.
Or on the computer.
Or on the computer. So this is our FieldMate software here. For example, when you're setting up concentration measurements, typically you have to send it to the factory to do your curves. Now with a simplified display, you can go into the FieldMate, put in your own densities at the different pressures and temperatures and concentrations, and create your own curves. So it gives the end user a lot more flexibility to change as they go. We also have what we call the process guard. So we have an event management functionality and the data logging functionality. Event management is, I was saying earlier before to the gentleman, was this is NAMUR 107 compliant, especially for chemical. It has over 157 event management functionality in there. So if there is an event, you can set this unit to hold value, to go high, to go low, to alarm, to error, and they're completely configurable in how they're set up. The data logging functionality is this constantly keeps track of the last 10 data points. So whenever there's an alarm system or a system upset, it will log the last 3 data points, the alarm point, and the future 3 data points. So you can go back and analyze what happened in that upset. So it's logging, for example, not just the typical process variables, but also things like the drive gain and the drive gain and the output from the pulse, to see, you can go back and look into it and see what happened at that point in that event.
What if you wanted a longer history? Can you?
Absolutely, you can.
Yeah.
So we have in the unit actually has a built-in SD card. I'll talk about that in a moment as well. We can actually data log your information. We have the maintenance manager, where we talk about the tube health check. We've got a patented tube health check, where we can see that tube when the stiffness starts to go, or it starts to corrode. We're constantly checking. So as soon as it starts to go, you can get that warning or that alarm or that output that your unit needs a calibration. And we have what we call a total health check, where we check from the electronics to the temperature sensor to the health of the tube. So it's a built-in verification. Within 90 seconds, you can have a full verification and a report. So no longer do you have to take this unit out of the line and send it somewhere to calibrate. You can do that in the line, and it operates during the process, so you don't have to stop your process to do that. We also have what we call data mobility. So in these units, there's a great little functionality that comes with an SD card in the unit itself. And the SD card is stored in the display.
Smart.
So now you can keep it in there in explosion-proof areas without having to open it up and put a USB. I just pull that out. Sorry?
There's a lot of history.
A lot of history. Yeah, so you can put this in there. Now, not only does this hold those data points, but what that also does is you can hold the trending value like you're asking. You can actually show the trend graph on your display. So the display can actually show the trend graph. It also holds up to 3 configurations. So say you have different configurations during different seasons, for example, batching, summer or winter, and they change. You can just, with the status input, you can change the configuration or download the saved configuration. At the same time, if you're commissioning multiple units and they're set up the same, you can just take out the SD card, put it in a new unit, and download the configuration automatically. There's all, sorry?
So quite a few companies are now doing their blending of formulated gasoline for different seasons online, rather than batching it from tank to tank.
Yes.
So this could be useful. In that
Absolutely. We've got a full batching functionality in this, built into this, especially for that sort of application. So
I'm actually clients we can talk to.
yeah.
We have a lot more.
Even the display itself has a copy of the latest configuration. So say for some reason your electronics go out, you can change your electronics and just put the same display back on, and all the information is saved in the display and downloaded into the device. The other good thing is if you are recording device data, or if you're trending and you know you're having issues, you can set it up to record different types of data that comes out of this unit. You can record, say, a week's worth, and you can take that file, put it into your computer, and email it to Yokogawa support. And we can then look at it and say, okay, we see the drive gain increasing here, we know you have entrained air. What happened at this time on this day? And you can go back, so now you can do off-site support without somebody coming into the site to see what's going on with the unit.
Because entrained gases typically has really thrown these things off.
It does.
Big time.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a reduction in pressure from the field well,
Yep.
you're relying on the pressure.
Oh, sometimes it's a pump with a bad gasket on there that's pulling air in as it pumps through. And I'd like to say, honestly, 60% of issues we see with Coriolis are entrained gas issues. And it's always, no one wants to say they have entrained gas. It's always the instrument. So then
It's telling you about
exactly right. So if you go in and you look up the drive gain is what powers the tubes. The more air that's in there, it dampens the tube, so you have to drive up higher. So if you see your drive gain increasing, you know for a fact that you have entrained gas in there.
Do you have to go out and get the SD card, or can you do it?
You can do it remotely if you have a heart signal. You can log it in your system and send it to us. All the information is available through the digital signal as well.
You said I can take this off in a hazardous area?
This is not in a hazardous area, no.
Oh, okay.
No. But historically, the way they've done data logging is a USB stick where you'd have to open the cover, stick it in to download the information. That's what you can't have it running with the cover open. So we did the micro SD so you can let it run for a week, then you get a hot permit, come in, pull it out if you had to. Where a lot of people like to, where we've heard in Europe, because this was released in Europe already, they're using it as a backup. So say you're using this for a transfer, a custody transfer. Well, they don't believe how much you're billing. Well, here's a backup that you have access to. And all the units come with the lockout. And if you look at the display, I don't know if that one there is easier for you to look at as well, there's a little padlock you can see. So when the unit's locked, that padlock shows that it's locked. So nobody can access it. So you know it's only accessible by yourself. We talk about advanced flexibility. Like I said, currently we have 20 I/O combinations. So we've got 20 I/O up to 4 I/Os, and you can have status inputs or status outputs. You can have analog input or analog output. So you can input a pressure transmitter, and you can input other devices. So for example, we're working on a water cut meter to work with the oil and gas. We also have a wide range of I/Os, and we're building that as we get more protocols like Modbus and Ethernet. We also have a wide range of global approvals. And we have a universal power supply. So whether it's 24 volt or up to 240 volt, you can use a one power supply now. So there's no more confusion of miswiring and burning the unit out. Advanced flexibility, this is a big one. So somebody might purchase this unit and then realize, oh, I wanted net oil calculation, or I wanted batching functionality, I wanted concentration measurement. Now they have to send it back to the factory or order a new one to get sent out. No, now they can just send us a serial number and we can provide them with a key code that they can put into the unit and unlock that functionality in the firmware.
Oh, you've got it all there, they just turn on the one
They turn it on the one they want based on the key code. So it's like a software upgrade.
That's right,
Yeah.
But you've got the software for 6 different things in there.
It's all in there. The software's all loaded in.
Based on
The software requirement, absolutely. So now there's no need to send it back. So now the customer can buy one model code, for example, and this is where the cost comes to the end user, is if they've got different applications, but it's the same size, you can keep one unit, and then if the application fails and they need to put it in, they can just add that functionality as needed. They don't have to order the full gamut for every product that they have on their shelf.
Is
So-
this more robust in terms of straight length you have to have before
Well,
you get to this?
with the Coriolis flow meter, you don't have any straight run need required. You can pipe directly into it and out of it. The only thing we wouldn't recommend is a 90-degree coming from the sides. And the only reason we don't recommend that is because if you have entrained gas or you have a slurry, it doesn't distribute the slurry or the gas proportionally. But if you're going from the sides, or you're coming from a reducer or from a valve, it doesn't matter, you can go straight to the unit. Yeah, just from the. And the biggest no-no is you never want to install your Coriolis in the horizontal plane. Because people install in the horizontal plane, because if they put it on the horizontal plane like this, you got two tubes. So then you have two tubes, you have one weighing more on the other one, and it affects your measurement. So what you would do is, if you're measuring liquids, you want to have it like this so the gas disperses. If you're measuring gases, you turn it upside down. Now, the most preferable way is always install it in the vertical. If you install the Coriolis in a vertical position, you're always going to have your gas go up and your liquid's always going to drain out. So there's nothing ever left in your pipe when you shut it down. But that was a quick synopsis on this. We have a video if you go to rotamass.com, and it should be on the press release. We'll hand it out to you. We can send you. There's a video and there's a brochure on there and all the information. But we're really looking forward to this.